Well, hello there, and a very good evening to you all. I hope you've had a lovely day today. I'm Alan Willison, Chairman of the Hertford Astronomy Group, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to this meeting. I can see lots of new faces out in the audience today, so a very special welcome to you. Please do make sure you come and say hello to myself or other committee members before you go home. We want you to know that we're a very friendly group. I've got the running order and a few announcements to make at the beginning. So, first of all, the important one, if the fire alarm does go off, it will be for real. So please exit via the emergency exits, congregate on the car park, and we'll check to make sure everybody is safe and sound. If you need them, haven't found them, toilets are just outside the door there, near the banners that are advertising the club. And if I could ask for the comfort and courtesy of everybody around you, could you make sure if you've got a mobile phone or any other gadgets which could cause distraction, please switch them to silent or off, or do what is necessary. And a very good evening to those of you on Zoom. It's lovely to see you here as well. I think we've got people all over the country here, some up in Norfolk. Roger, are you there? Good to see you. All we ask of you is please make sure you keep your hands away from the space bar, otherwise you'll join in conversations and we will all probably hear them here. The format of the evening is that in a few moments' time, Martin will give you a talk about the night sky and no doubt show us some lovely pictures, so really looking forward to that. And after that, Jerry will introduce tonight's speaker, who I'm pleased to see has come back to us. She was due here last year to talk about Raman Spectroscopy. Was that correct? Mm-hmm. We still don't know what it is, so you know.
I don't either.
We're going to get you to come back at some stage or other to do that. After the talk, there will be an opportunity to ask questions. I should say after both talks, there's an opportunity to ask questions. Those of you who are in the auditorium, if you could just wait for us to bring a microphone up to you, that way the people on Zoom can hear you. And for those of you on Zoom, if you have a question, you can send it in via the chat facility. So a few questions, and after that there's quite a few small announcements at the end to fill you in on a couple of dates and events which are going on. And we will aim to finish around about 9:30, 9:45. So, no more from me. Over to you, Martin.
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Right, to start, a little bit of Blue Origin. Launched today. I actually watched it live. It's quite good. That's the 15th launch so far. They're only up for, I think it was about 12, 13 minutes or something like that, but it's quite interesting to watch. There's always a live feed, so if anybody's interested in how that's going, just log on to Blue Origin and log on to their live broadcast. So today is a harvest moon, although I must admit it looked like it was clearing when I come in, so it might be possible to see that. I will apologise for the spelling in some of this. I've taken this off the internet and it's American English, not our English. I did have a quick look at the moon yesterday, the day before. It was cloudy yesterday, wasn't it? And it was full, so it will appear this straw colour, hopefully. So if you get a chance this evening to have a look, please do. Comets. There's a couple of comets around at the moment. This one, we were discussing how to pronounce it, is Wizokos. I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but it's not very bright. It's just plus 12 luminosity, so you wouldn't actually see it with the naked eye. Pair of binoculars or a small telescope would show it. But I thought I'd just put it up there because there was actually two comets around at the moment. The second one's a bit more promising. So Friday, the moon will occult the Pleiades. So I don't know what the weather's going to be like. It's meant to be clearing for the next couple of days. I might have an opportunity to see that. But it's in the morning because, as you know, the Pleiades are just north of Orion, so that's more of a winter constellation over in the east. So talking of Orion, we've got the Orionid meteor shower starting on the 21st. Well, it's actually started already, but it peaks on the 21st. So if you can look to the east, later on in the evening as Orion rises up, and you can see the area where the meteors are coming from. So obviously these meteorites are the remnants of comet tails, another rubbish that's in space, and as the Earth passes through it, they burn up in our atmosphere. So that could be quite spectacular. So I was talking about comets. So this is Comet C 2025A6, nicknamed Lemon. I don't know why. But this will actually be a bit brighter, and it's will be hopefully later on in the month it will be able to see it with the naked eye. So I've just put a little bit of information, a nice image there that's been taken. I think this was taken in America. But if I move there, you can see the path. So if I can point with this, there we go. So we're here at the moment. So it's going through Ursa Major, and I think it peaks about here on the next page. I'll show you on the next page where it peaks, but it's actually got brighter as it's reached perihelion, which is the point where it goes around the sun and starts to come back to go out of the solar system. But if we look on the next page, it shows the path here. So this is the point of perihelion here, and then it will then go out of our solar system, or towards the outer part of our solar system. So there's a little bit of information there I've written. It's tilted at 144 degrees, so it moves retrograde, opposite to the planet's usual direction. Latitude 48 north or higher, and then it will shrink as it comes down, as you could see in that picture earlier on. But hopefully during the autumn we should be able to see that, and if it does become visible with the naked eye, it'll be quite a sight. So it's been here before. I've put a bit there about an ancient traveller. So it's got an orbital period of 1,350 years. So as I've said there, that it actually has had its path slightly altered as it come a bit close to Jupiter, and it's actually reduced its period by 200 years. So it's not a great big amount, but I thought I'd just put a little bit of what was going on in 1675 there. So King Childeric II of the Franks was murdered in the forest with his wife and his son, leading to Theodoric III's ascension. In Japan, the imperial banned the consumption of most meat, a prohibition based on Buddhist doctrine which lasted for 12 centuries. And then there's a bit there about Saint Pharaoh, Bishop of New York, and Wolf of Mercia influence was growing. And also stained glass windows were starting to be used. Put a picture there, Theodoric, and a Saxon gold shilling. So I not think I'll be around for the next visitation. So this is a curve of the brightness of it. So we're quite hopeful that as it goes further towards this peak point, that it's going to get brighter. You can see at the start it was anything which is a large number is dimmer in the magnitude. So you can see that it was between 23 and 24 at the beginning, so you would have only seen it with a telescope. But as it's come through the months there, so we've got January, then April, then July, now we're now into October. As you can see, it's starting to peak, and it's about +9 roughly. So it is becoming visible by the eye, and especially in the dark skies area. But it seems to be getting brighter than was expected. So we're hopeful that it'll be really nice to have another visual comet for us to see and observe. Okay, so back to images. We'll have to show a few of these. I wanted to show this because one of our astrophotographers, Kevin, has won the Object of the Month for the Hubble Challenge. It's a group of, it's a Facebook group, but it deals with astrophotography, and it covers the whole country, and it's quite a big following. So they have a Hubble Challenge every month where they'll select some targets, and then we all have a go at trying to image these targets and see who can win. So Kevin has done quite well to win that one, but he's lagging behind the champ at the moment, who's Steve. So here's the table showing each month and the points gained. So I think you've got this for this year, Steve. I've only just started doing it, so I'm right down in number 10. But we've got 4 members of our group on there: Steve, Kevin, Michael, and myself. So we're well represented. But I think we have a very strong astrophotography section. So this one I took a couple of days ago. Well, I didn't take it, I processed it a couple of days. I took it last year actually, but the problem with this, quite often we do a lot of data collection and then forget what we've processed and what we haven't. But this is one of the images for next month, so I thought I'll get practicing a bit. So that's the Helix Nebula, or sometimes known as the Eye of God. It's 650 light years away in the constellation of Aquarius. And a planetary nebula has nothing to do with planets, as a brief explanation here. It's a star very similar to our Sun in size, and when it dies, it sheds off the material that's been produced in the core of the star, and in these layers, and depending on the colour of the layers is the material that's being shed off. So in this particular instance, the outer skirt there is mainly hydrogen. There's a bit of sulfur there, and the bluey section is oxygen. So this is one of Steve's images, and I think this is quite a good image. I wanted to show it because these images he's taken since 2020 up to 2025 to show Saturn's phases. Saturn isn't moving. Actually, we're not sitting in a perfect, it's not sitting square on its axis, so as time goes by it appears to tilt one way or the other like we do in summer and winter. So you can see there we've got quite a good ring display in 2020 now. We're almost edge on and they appear as a line. And this, I quite like the whole Milky Way shot. I couldn't resist this one. Steve took this one when he was in Wales a couple of weeks ago, and I thought I took the other one when we were in Spain last month. So Steve's used a much wider field lens than I have, so he's showing a much longer section. I'm just showing the sort of central section. But it's interesting that Steve's used a colour camera on that, and I've used the mono. Oh no, I haven't. I used a colour camera actually, thinking about it. So it's just how you process it. You can bring the colours out and change things how you want. But it just shows you the amount of stars in our Milky Way, which is the main reason for doing that. You can just see, if you had to try and count that, and we're only looking at one of the arms of the Milky Way. I did this one just as that we don't always get fantastic images. So this one here is probably one of the most difficult targets I've ever picked. It's a very famous. It's a very famous stellar remnant from a supernova, Cassiopeia, and as you can see, just about see a very faint ring in sort of bottom centre of the picture there. Although I must admit I got clouds pretty quick and I didn't get many images, but I'm just going to show you an image that was taken by professional telescopes. So this was taken by the Spitzer Space Telescope, which looks at, I think, the infrared. And then Hubble took the goldy coloured sections in the visible light spectrum, and Chandra-X, the X-ray sections. So I'm going to have to work on that one a bit, I think, to get to. I need a few clear nights. And that is the end of my talk. Is there any questions, anybody? Good. Oh yes, up the top
there. You mentioned the meteor shower. How does it compare to other ones? Like how many should we be looking out for?
Yeah, it's normally pretty quite a strong meteor shower this time of year, but by virtue of the fact that the nights are drawing on, there's a longer period to observe. The ones that appear in the summer, sometimes we've only got a couple of hours of darkness to actually observe them, but we're drawing into autumn now. We've got we're past the equinox now, so we've got longer nights. The daylight is shorter than the night time. So yeah, I think we'll see quite a bit. It's quite an active. I forget which comet this is covering, but it was quite a big comet at the time that we're going through its tail at the moment, or the remnants of its tail. But certainly worth. I always find the best thing for looking at meteorites is a flat garden, sort of laying down type chair or something, so you can lay on your back and you don't miss anything. Because if you're just sitting down, one behind you, you're missing them all the time. So if you, get a sleeping bag or something like that to keep you nice and warm, and just lay out there and enjoy it. Maybe a drink.
Right, thank you very much indeed, Martin. Some marvellous images, as always. Now, anyone who knows anything about the Society will know of our connection with the university, which has been going on for a very long time and something of which we're very proud. We particularly help out at their open evenings at the observatory at Bayfordbury. And in fact, we were offered the use of lecture theatre here, which we thought was excellent. Unfortunately, we couldn't accept it at the time because of COVID, and we had to rely on purely internet meetings. But having restarted, but continuing with the internet, for those who either find it difficult to get here or can't because of the distance. For example, our previous chairman, who now lives in Somerset, I believe, they're able to watch. So Bayfordbury is obviously very important to us, and I'm delighted that we have tonight Dr. Sam Rolfe, who is a technical tutor at Bayfordbury, and she's going to tell us about the observatory and its history. So, over to you, Sam.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you all for coming tonight to listen to me speak, and I hope I can try and do a little bit of justice to the long history of Bayfordbury. And if you've not been there before, I hope you'll come out and volunteer at an open evening, or come visit us at an open evening. Okay. First of all, I'm not a historian, but I've done my best to fact check a few bits and pieces, but hopefully I've not got it wrong. And also, as I said, we've got a long history, and there's no way that I can do justice to it in this short time, to all the amazing people that have been involved over the years, and all the events that have happened there too. But I'll try and give you a small slice of what we've got there. So the site actually has a very long history. Before the university, what was the Polytechnic, came into its ownership. So the site actually started in the 1700s, which it was an estate that's 372 acres, so it's quite a large area. And we have, for those who have been there, as you exit, you drive past a big white house, Bayfordbury House, and that was built by the Baker family between 1759 and 1762. So it took them a few years to put it together, but still stands there today. And another sort of draw to the site that we have, and you're also able to visit. There are events for this specifically as well, through our colleagues in what is now the Health and Medical Life Sciences School. But yeah, sort of our ecology environment arm of the university. We have a pinetum, which is just a collection of pine trees. And that was actually started in 1767 by the Clinton Baker family, and it now contains over 150 different species of different pines. So we got like redwoods and lots of different trees there that are obviously had many hundreds of years to grow as well. So they're quite extensive in their size, some of them. And then we sort of skip forward a couple hundred years, and we find that sort of the last of the Clinton Bakers, Lewis, who died in 1940, and then the estate was actually leased to the charity Barnardo's for a few years. And then after that, it was bought by the John Innes Centre in 1948. Some of you, if you're familiar with compost, that's the most famous, one of the most famous things that they do, but they're still a present day centre that has a Norwich site now. And it's still there since it moved in 1967. And the Hertfordshire County Council ended up buying the estate for the Polytechnic, Hatfield Polytechnic, to actually use. So, yes, and I've kind of jumped over the pre-1967 just to put a little bit of information here about the university, or what was the Polytechnic, I should say, did have use of the house back in the day. They had labs and offices in there, so a lot of the physics and astronomy staff were actually based in the house for their work. But then eventually the university decided to sell off some of the area, and now those are private residences that we sort of are neighbours to, of course. But yeah, I think it would have been very interesting to be able to sort of see what it was like before, and see what the labs were like and things like that. So yeah, I just put up on the slide there the extent of which the site that we still have use of. So it's not like the most useful map necessarily, but here is the Lower Hatfield Road, and you drive up on the in drive, and we have the sort of car park area and the main Bayfordbury Science building, where we have some of our activities throughout the open evenings. We have a fixed planetarium, so a room that's dedicated as a planetarium with a domed roof, where we can display a simulation of the night sky. And we also have some labs in there and things which we share with the ecology and environment staff and students too. And then we have things like the Bayfordbury Lake, and then you come up round on this path here to on this map looks really small, the observatory. Obviously, I'll show you a better picture of it later. But yeah, and then we have some woodland areas. So Hooks Grove here. The Pinetum is just this end area here. And then this extensive forest area here as well, which has some various meadows and other things for, there's like a war memorial in there, and lovely, trees and plants that aren't just specifically pine trees. So the university still owns like a very large area, and when I see people in the university saying, oh, our two campuses, both campuses, and they're talking about College Lane and de Havilland, I'm thinking, you've got Bayfordbury over here as well, the best campus, obviously. Let's move on to the actual history of the observatory. So once the Polytechnic had started using the site, we had an electrical engineering lecturer actually called Gillian Marsh, but went by Lou, and he proposed a short course in astronomy just to see if people were interested to take the course. And it ran successfully for a year or two, or at least a year, before they decided to build an observatory to actually support that, to have a permanent site where people were able to come out and take observations. So obviously the Bayfordbury campus is about 6 miles or so away. So it's outside of Hatfield town. It's towards Hertford if you've not been, but there's not too much light pollution, and I'm sure back in 1967 maybe there was a little less than there is today. So we're still in a relatively remote place. We haven't really had any too much encroaching in terms of housing or anything like that. But London is south of us. It's not that far away really, and even on a sort of clearish night you can see the glow in the distance of London, and you have Hertford to the east as well. So it's still much better than if we were in the middle of Hatfield, of course. And we're very lucky because many other universities around the country will have either a telescope maybe on top of the physics building on the campus, or still somewhere nearby in the town. And my university had one by the halls of residence, and there was a sports pitch right there which had floodlights to the south. So yeah, we're incredibly lucky to have the spot that we do. So officially the observatory was opened on the 26th of May 1970, and so that is what we sort of deem as our official birthday. And you can see the dome there with the Hatfield Polytechnic Observatory on the side there, and that sign is still on the side of the building there to this day. So just a few pictures from the official opening, and a couple of one from before it was completely finished. So we have various people that I wish I knew the names of, but unfortunately I don't know all of their names. But you'll see on the next picture the close-up of the actual plaque that is mounted on the telescope pier here. But it was actually ended up being formally opened by Dr. A. Hunter, whom I'm assuming is possibly one of these people. And he ended up deputising for the Astronomer Royal, who was meant to come and open the observatory for us, but obviously, people get sick, so he missed out, but hopefully he got better. So yeah, here's the plaque, and again, we've kept this here on the pier of the telescope, showing the name of the Astronomer Royal at the time, Sir Richard Woolley. So yeah, that's if you're in the Marsh Dome, or if you're at the observatory, and you can come and have a look at that. So moving through the years now, into the 70s and 80s, the observatory started expanding quite a lot. It got various telescopes and new buildings and domes. We had what I think here, yeah, the 10-inch telescope that was mounted was actually in like a roll-off roof rather than a dome, for example. In 1976, we had the Henry Brinton telescope donated to us, and unfortunately we don't have that still to this day. It was later moved to somewhere called the Slindon College. This was not somewhere I looked up afterwards, but it's also been restored and is now at Chichester Planetarium. And the original main 16-inch telescope is now upgraded to a 20-inch mirror. So we've increased our viewing capabilities and give the students like a much better experience, I guess. 1987, Lou Marsh has retired, and I guess we have many other people that are still involved in the university, in the observatory. Sorry, and then we have this telescope here, the Vince telescope, which originally was on its own mount within its own dome, which is now where the CDK is, the new biggest telescope that we have. And so this telescope has now been moved on top of the main Marsh telescope, so you can still see that. And yeah, the lens in here was from the late 1800s, so it's quite an old piece of kit, but it still works very nice. You can get a brilliant view of the moon through it, and some of the planets as well, just spectacular. And yeah, restored over the years. The tube itself, that was recommissioned in the 1930s, so it's not the original tube, but still a really historic piece that we're really proud to own, and to have permanently loaned, so we're able to keep using it. So I was really lucky to find some aerial shots of the site, so you'll see how it develops over the course of time. I had to kind of guess the age here. I don't know if anyone's really good at cars. Does anyone know what this model car is down here? I was trying to guess based on that, and the number of telescopes and things, or perhaps even anyone familiar with camping style tent styles. So yeah, I'm not sure, perhaps they had scouts or guides or something, or maybe the Polytechnic ran overnight sessions or something. I'm not sure, but you can see at least we've got the main telescope down here, and a few buildings and things as well. And a lot of these glass houses that don't exist anymore at all. These ones as well aren't present anymore. And actually there's a couple, these have been replaced, so, but yeah, some of these still exist. So the observatory is this area here, but all of this has changed since. So you'll see how it changes over the years. And then yeah, this is the Bayfordbury Science building. So this building was actually built by the John Innes Centre, so that was pre-Polytechnic anyway as well. And something like this tree hasn't survived to this day. You can still see the stump by the gate. But yeah, so it's quite interesting to see, it kind of looks kind of bare compared to what we know it as today. Anyone with car knowledge? I know these are 50s cars, right? But 60s? Okay, well then it's at least seeing as we had this in 1969. So yeah, it's around 1965 maybe. No, it's got to be later than that, because obviously the observatory came into existence in 1970, and these flowers have had time to grow, and they've built these buildings as well. So maybe it's 70s, early 80s perhaps. Okay, so moving into the 90s, we had obviously there was like the storm of 1987. Apparently that was fine, but the 1990 storm, a Bernstein storm, destroyed 3 of the domes and ended up obviously being replaced later that year. So I'm not really sure what they did between January and later that year. I assume covered them up somehow, the telescopes, to keep them safe. And then the observatory was lucky enough to be visited by the first British astronaut, Helen Sharman. And as well as that, we had, some of you may remember the BBC Heavenly Bodies series from the mid-90s. Part of it was filmed at the observatory, and we had one of the doctors who was the presenter of the Heavenly Bodies show as well, Peter Davison, and then this is Ian Nicholson, who was heavily involved in the observatory over many years as well. So here are just a couple of pictures of Helen Sharman visiting the observatory as well. So here in the main telescope here, and it always just looks much smaller than it is with that sort of angle, but yeah, and we see that the observatory has expanded quite a few domes already, and the Marsh dome has its hedge, which it didn't in the previous pictures. It just had like a pathway with those flowers. So the landscape of the observatory has changed quite a bit over the last 10-15 years. So yeah, that was a really exciting thing to find out that a real astronaut has actually come to the observatory before. Then we are at mid-90s, so 1995, and we've got our 25th anniversary. And so I've been trying to call it the main telescope up until this point, because historically it didn't have that name that we know it by today. But they celebrated by celebrating Lou Marsh, who obviously started the whole thing and named the telescope after him. And during that ceremony, there was tribute given by some of the other astronomers, Chris Kitchen and Jim Huff. And I also note Sir Norman Lindop, whose building we're sitting in right now. So yeah, this is the Lindop building if you're unfamiliar. And of course, Patrick Moore visited the observatory many times over the years also, and he was there to celebrate with everyone for that anniversary. Soon after, the first computerized telescope was installed, so a Meade LX200. At the time, it was the third of its kind in the UK. And before that, of course, telescopes had to be custom made to order, and we were starting to see off-the-shelf products becoming available. So, sort of given the sort of time frame, now that we have like very easily able to purchase telescopes of many sizes, even up to a meter just off the shelf, to be able to buy something like this off the shelf was, I'm sure, incredible to be able to do. So we can see the construction here of the dome, and the Meade, the new Meade 16-inch telescope, which was able to be used by the students for their studies. Moving into the next millennium, this image, I had to lighten it a little. It was a little dark, so I appreciate it's not got great detail, but just wanted to show you what the observatory kind of looked like right before 2000. So we had multiple domes here, these sort of ones which are this like corrugated cladding on the outside. So you can see we've got a few of those, and the Marsh dome here, and another dome, and this big dish, which I don't know what they did with that, but it's not there anymore. And a few of these buildings as well. So yeah, I just wanted to give you a picture of what the observatory looked like there. Because then in 99 and 2000, a big renovation went underway. So you can see like the number of glass houses have kind of disappeared. There were ones all lined up along here before. Yeah, we've got the main building, Bayfordbury Science building here, the car park. So it's a slightly different orientation to the image I'd shown you before. But hopefully you can see we've got the road and this circular area here, and the beginnings of a few more spots for telescopes. And that's because we started this, like I say, this massive upgrade at the turn of the century. And we added the Patrick Moore building, what would become the Patrick Moore building as well, rather than those like square buildings that was there before. And this ended up actually winning a architecture prize the year or two after it was completed. So I just thought I'd give you an indication of a few of the what it was like while construction was happening. So yeah, lots of health and safety here. As this person standing on top of the pillar mount for the Marsh telescope there, and yeah, just sort of no fences or anything. But I don't know if anyone got hurt or not, but I'm sure everyone was fine. But yeah, so for anyone who's not been in our building, we've got these like a sort of strut work that's still visible in the roof, and these like glass tiles which let the light in during sort of the later parts of the day, because this faces westish. So yeah, and obviously a few more domes, some of the telescope piers being poured, and the pathways are beginning to show, which is that sort of very distinctive path that we have now, that you can walk around when you're up there. So as I mentioned, in 2000 it was officially opened. So this is actually the 30th anniversary of the site. I've written newly renovated, but I guess it's just new rather than newly renovated. I suppose, the observatory is renovated, sorry, yeah. I was thinking the Patrick Moore building was renovated, no. And so as well as opening up the observatory building here, one of the telescopes was also named for Ian Nicholson, and we still have that telescope. It's not in this dome anymore, we moved it around, I'll explain later, but we still have that telescope, and it's still named for him today. And this tree is about twice the height and 2 or 3 times the thickness of the trunk. There's an ash tree there, so yeah, it's interesting to look back at the old pictures and see how the foliage as well has grown, as well as the observatory. So, moving into the mid-2000s, we have the new 16-inch Meade, which was quite a few years old at that point, nearly 10 years, has been named for Chris Kitchen, who was a big part of the observatory, and he's left us many of his books on the shelves that we have there today as well. We have another new telescope, 14-inch, which is specialising in what must have been relatively new at the time, video astronomy, video astrophotography. In 2009, we have an all-sky camera installed, which I'll let this run. It takes an image every minute at varying exposure lengths in order to capture the course of the night sky, and also we have a daytime one now as well. And I tried to pick one that was kind of interesting with a bit of cloud and clear sky, so you can kind of see the evolution of the night. And you might be able to see here some fog growing and fading. It is, I appreciate the contrast is a bit tricky, but you might be able to see that with planes coming through and that kind of thing. You can see Orion here. So yeah, it's a really useful tool for our students. They can look, you're stood inside a dome with a tiny slit out to the night sky. You can't see if there's cloud coming, but they can have this open on the computer and see an updated image, see the clouds coming. If they are looking at archive data, they can look at a corresponding night sky, all sky image and see, oh, okay, so it's kind of clear over here, but my object's here and that's where a cloud is, so that's why my data looks rubbish. That kind of thing. And they can, they don't have to have taken that image to know the cloud conditions, the weather conditions at the time. So yeah, we've got, trying to do maths, like 16 years of data around that, which is incredible. Many millions of images, as you can imagine. I didn't mention actually, sorry, that during the install, I don't know if I have a picture. Oh yeah, during the 99-2000 install, they also put in a big 4.5 meter radio telescope up here, looking at the hydrogen line. So that in itself is a pretty major piece of construction, let alone all of this stuff as well. And then after that, in 2010, they also started installing 3 other dishes that could be linked together in an interferometer. So when you take data from one dish, you can add the data from the other dishes and increase your intensity of your radio signal, as well as try and provide a bit of a better angular resolution on your sky, because radio waves are so much longer than optical waves. You need a much bigger collecting area to get a better resolution. Starting again. So this is actually where yourselves come in. So I asked Alan and Jerry for a little bit of background on yourselves. So I'm sure I can't do it justice in the same way, but please, if you want to jump in and say anything, please do. Maybe at the end, I don't know. So my understanding is, and please, if I get it wrong, that meetings of the Hertford Astronomy Group actually started in the Hartingfordbury Cricket Pavilion after people met at a astronomy evening course, I believe, at Seal School in Hertford. And that was led by Roger O'Brien, who was part of a tutor. And then in so yes, that was around 10 members. I'm not sure what year that was. Sorry, if you care to say. Okay. So then 2006, your member numbers were maybe dwindling a little from the original 10, only around 5 or 6, and it was suggested perhaps that Bayfordbury open evenings were a good spot to advertise to potential members. And at the time, Mark Sarzi was leading open evenings, and was encouraging the symbiotic relationship between the observatory, or the university, I suppose, and the group. And you saw your membership grow, which was great. And you come back to us every time, offering us your volunteer work and activities, including quizzes, VR headset experiences, discussions and Q&As from the public, and you all very generously bring your telescopes and put them in danger with the public. You allow them to go near them, which is very impressive, and show them what it's like to use a telescope that they might be able to purchase themselves, compared to obviously our ones that are a little less attainable perhaps, but still obviously it gives that comparison and experience for the visitors and the students as well, because we have our students there running some of the activities, and I'm sure they interact with you too. So then in 2007, there's the 40th anniversary of the Bayfordbury site, so not of the observatory, because that was 1969, 1970 officially, but the site itself had been a part of the university for 40 years at that point, so there was some celebrations there. Then in the 2010s, Bob Forrest, who was the technician there for many, many years, 26 years, he retired, and David Campbell came in and takes over the keys I've written, because my understanding is Bob gave David the keys and was like, have a nice time, good luck, sort of thing. Maybe there was a little bit more of an exchange, but yeah, it was, there wasn't too much of a handover period, and so David had a lot to learn, but found his way very easily. So yeah, this picture is not from 2012, but I just wanted to show you a picture of Bob, who's this gentleman here, and Ian Nicholson and Chris Kitchen here, and this is them collecting the Vince telescope and its mount here, which I understand is extremely heavy, because I think it was like a solid piece of metal basically. So then in 2012, automation has been added to 5 of the telescopes, which allows students and staff to submit observing plans. So rather than being physically present, the telescopes are able to judge the weather based on information from our weather station, open up automatically at any point during the night that there's clear sky, and take data for students and staff, and then next morning, after they've been in the pub or asleep, they can check their email and see, hey, I got some data last night. So it is really useful because, of course, when the students come to us in the evenings, they're only really there for a couple hours, 7 till 9. And so if it's cloudy, it's, we don't really, we schedule the practicals in advance. So if it's clear, great. If it's cloudy, we don't reschedule for them, just because we have so many sessions that we have to run and not that many evenings. So they still get to learn about the observatory, practice with the telescopes, but this is a great way for them to actually get their data that is like kind of theirs. They've asked the telescope for that specific observation, so they have some more ownership over that rather than just being handed data from 2 or 3 years ago or earlier even. So yeah, Bob was then also awarded a Fellowship of the University for all of his work over the years. So then here we are, about 10 years ago now. The observatory is essentially pretty much what it was like from the, no additional domes or anything like that has been added. The various telescopes and things may have been upgraded or changed around. For example, this dome was used for a LiDAR for a long time. So we had a telescope in there that would, and a laser that would just shine. Well, it could be moved around, but I think ultimately it ended up just shining vertically into the sky rather than sensing all around. But it was originally mounted in there in order to be on a telescope mount. to take atmospheric data. And you can see we've got 2 of the dishes here and the 3rd dish of the interferometer over here. There used to be a big mast on this building, but this now houses computers and equipment for our weather station. So then in 2017, actually I'd started about a year before, so I started at the observatory in 2016, and we got some funding to recommission the radio interferometer because it had fallen a little bit into disrepair. And we also built a atmospheric gantry for all of our atmospheric instruments, some of which were on top of the Bayfordbury Science building. And then we moved them all down, so they were actually within the vicinity of the observatory. We've got 50,000 robotic images, so obviously you've got to make cake for that. And then a year later, the 60,000th. And I don't know, maybe we had a cake, but no one took a picture. And then in 2020, there was a problem with something else beginning with C. So David and I had a little bit of a bake-off competition, obviously in our respective homes, and we had to cancel any 50th anniversary celebrations, sadly, because we were planning to have a party, obviously. So yeah, I think David wins with his 3D recreation of the Marsh Dome. It's pretty impressive, but I'll let you judge that. I think mine was tastier, but I didn't try his, so I don't know. Later that year, we made David made a pretty interesting discovery. He found a beer can that had been left on the side of one of the domes, and turns out there was a photographic paper inside a pinhole camera that had been made by our artist in residence from 2012, Reggie, who had done a lot of solograph work over the sort of 6 months to a year in 2012. This one got forgotten, left on the side of the dome, and it captured 8 years worth of solar paths over that time. And I don't know how good the contrast is in here, but hopefully you can kind of see in the foreground you've got the Marsh Dome. You can actually see the gantry, despite it being built halfway through this period, and the tree line, which matches up. Hopefully you can see here the perspective of the tin can, and you can just about see the weather heart here. So yeah, really, really interesting. Lots of questions online about what are these markings, and we were trying to figure out, is it some kind of glare from something bouncing off of maybe this metal, or I don't know if we ever figured it out in the end. But yeah, lots of people asking us online about all these artifacts. What are they? And if any of us ever went up on the gantry, then we're actually in this picture. So yeah, I'm in there, David's in there, many of our other team are in there. So that was a really interesting discovery, and as far as we know, it's the longest ever exposure photograph that's been taken. So, come back to yourselves. In the recent past, as you mentioned, Jerry, I went onto online during the COVID lockdowns, and after all of that had lifted, encouraged the return to open evenings and suggested the space here for your in-person meetings. And I just wanted to put out on here that we're all very grateful to you. The Department of Physics, Astronomy and Maths are very grateful to all of you that come and volunteer and provide your expertise at our open evenings, because I think it really creates like a community atmosphere for everyone, and gives people an opportunity to interact with yourselves, join yourselves, and provide some I don't necessarily want to say service, because that isn't the right word, but provide like that expertise that we can't always have the time to do, because we get a lot of questions about, how can I fix my telescope? But we can't necessarily provide that, whereas yourselves have that possibility for people. And of course, we've had a few people come and speak for you. So as I say, if you haven't volunteered at the open evenings, hopefully you're encouraged to come along. So here's a few pictures of the open evenings with yourselves, people doing activities like I mentioned about VR, etc. And as well as the observing with your scopes up at the observatory as well. So moving closer to present, in 2021 we had the newest and biggest telescope installed in what was the Vince Dome, and then the CKT was in there, the Chris Kitchen telescope, and then we moved about, so we moved that one, we moved the CKT into the INT, the Ian Nicholson, the Ian Nicholson Dome into the David Axon Dome, and then we retired the David Axon telescope. So yeah, we had a lot of fun, I want to say, moving all of them around and recalibrating them and everything. So, and you know, cranes and exciting things to get the telescope actually mounted. Yes, remember 2017 we got money to finish the to refurb the interferometer. Well, you know, COVID kind of got a little bit in the way, and eventually we finished up that third dish. Although technically this is not the third dish, this was the first one that we did, but it was a nice picture. So here we are. This is pretty much the state of the observatory right now. We've got the gantry, the new dishes. Actually, the only thing that's different, I think, is that this structure is not here. This was actually a research project that was joint with UCL and a private company, but that's now been removed. And 2024, I think you might remember the sun being very active. Perhaps you saw some of these aurora. We decided to install a webcam that allowed us to capture aurora. So this is obviously pointing northwards. You can see the plough here. And this was an incredible night-long display of aurora on the 10th of October last year. And not only that, we also got our 100,000th automated image from the robotic telescopes. So yeah, lots to be proud of and lots of history there that we, like I say, this is not even all of it, right? This is just some of the stuff that's happened over the years. Yeah, so the webcam isn't currently live on the web, but so this video is on YouTube if you would like to watch it. Yeah, the webcam we would like to keep online live, but we're just going through some computer upgrades, so it's not up presently. Okay, so that's we're up to present day. So I just thought I'd show you a couple of the current pieces of equipment that we have. So within those domes, we have 8 domes. We've got 8 telescopes. So the CDK, so the CDK 24 doesn't actually have an official sort of name like some of the others. This is just the model name for it. We have the Jim Huff telescope. Let me get this right. I'm going to get this wrong now. So then we have the CKT over here. No, that's wrong. I should have written this down because they're all the same model. This one's the CKT. David's going to be looking at me like. Then we've got RPT, the Robert Preddy telescope. This was the video telescope. And which one have I missed? This one, the Ian Nicholson telescope. And then we have the Marsh, and the big dish that was built in 2000. This is actually named for Bob Forrest, so this is the Forrest telescope. And in one of the domes we have a solar observing platform. So a few telescopes that are looking through like H alpha. calcium filters, and then of course, the 3 dishes. As well as that, we have other things like, it's not just the hardware, we also have lots of software that's been used and created and developed over the years. So we got these cool status screens in our Patrick Moore building that we put together, and it shows us all the telescopes and the weather data and the all-sky image, that kind of thing. We've got solar graphs, as well as some other solar telescopes for people to use during daytime visits, spectrometers, and our internal website that the students use to submit their observing plans and use things like the target checker so they know whether they're actually going to be observing the thing they want to observe, and if it's possible to do so with the telescope that they want. But I just wanted to leave you with this. As great as all of the equipment and the history of it over the years is, what really makes Bayfordbury special is the people that are there, that have been there, that have dedicated themselves to it, and have really actually, that's the heart and soul of the observatory. And as you all know, astronomy is a hobby that anyone can enjoy, and that's what we love to bring to the people that visit us. We have people bring their kids and encouraging their kids to look through the telescope, and then we say, hey, you can look too, and they're kind of a bit shy, but then they look in and they have the exact same reaction as the kids. They're also super excited to see the moon, or whatever it is the object is that they're observing. So really all I can say is thank you to everyone who's been at Bayfordbury over the years, and may it long continue. Thank you very much for listening.
Well, thank you very much, Sam. That brought back a lot of memories, because I've been associated with Bayfordbury for many years, back to when I was a student at what was then the Polytechnic, back in the early 1970s.
Was that your car then?
No, not mine. So I knew Mr. J.C.D. Marsh, obviously known as Lou, and I knew Ian Nicholson for a very long time before we sadly lost him. Also Jim Huff, who actually came to present lectures, particularly about the sun, at the Polytechnic Astronomical Society, of which I was the chair. So you showed the aerial picture showed some tents out there. I was involved in a 2-week summer camp where we had children brought in, and they camped out on the grass there, though that wasn't from that time. And I would take them around and show them the scopes.
That's incredible. Yeah.
Very interesting. And a lot of the other names you've mentioned were very familiar as well.
I'm sure I've missed out a lot of people as well.
No. But you also added a lot of information which I wasn't aware of, so thank you for that. And I'm sure everyone here has found it very interesting. So do we have any questions? First of all, from the floor. Yes.
Sorry. Just wanted to know when your open evenings are. I know they're around about here.
Yeah, so our upcoming ones, so upcoming open evenings, we have 7th of November. So they're on Fridays. So Friday the 7th of November, and the one after that is Friday the 28th of November. And the tickets are available now. Yeah, so we have those 2 before Christmas, and then we have 3 after Christmas.
And you do need to book your tickets early, because they get sold out.
Yes.
All the time.
Yeah, so you can go to the Bayfordbury, hearts.ac.uk/Bayfordbury, and click through to the observatory, And there's a link on the side that says visit the observatory, and then you can find the open evenings and the link to the tickets. Okay.
Any others?
Is on the interferometer. Two of them are very close together and one much further apart. I would, in my ignorance, would have thought they'd all be as far away from each other as possible to get the biggest baseline. Is any reason for them being close together?
Oh.
I'll stand up if you want.
I mean, I wasn't involved in the original design. That was in 2010. So we have the furthest distance, the longest baseline is 115 meters between the two furthest ones apart. The two that are close together are only 15 meters apart, and then 100 meters to the other one. So what you can do is, as part of sort of the practical, I guess, or the teaching about the radio astronomy, is if you have a shorter baseline, you see something slightly different than if you had the longer baseline. When you add the two signals together, you get something called fringes. So we're not talking about a picture here, we're talking about a graph of intensity, of voltage, essentially. And as the object is observed, your wavelength, the wave fronts, if you imagine them moving towards us from the object, those wave fronts will hit the dishes at slightly different times, and then when you add those together, you kind of get this fringe pattern, this kind of sinusoidal pattern, and the closer dishes will show you a different size fringe pattern to the further one away. So it's so that the students can do calculations on those things, and they can figure out things like the angular width of an object, and that kind of thing. So it's part of the teaching objective, rather than sort of wanting it to be broadly spaced, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Ask
Any
one more
others?
question.
Yes.
Have there been any discoveries of note at the observatory? I realise you do a lot of teaching there.
Yeah.
And it's still worthwhile. We had a guy quite a few years ago now from the Mill Hill Observatory who discovered a naked eye supernova in the Cigar Galaxy.
Yes.
I just wondered, maybe there's competition between you.
Competition. We almost discovered a supernova. Does that count? My understanding of the story is that it might have been at an open evening even. While the students were demonstrating the telescopes to people, they were just taking images of a galaxy. And then a few days later, a supernova was announced in that galaxy. And then we looked back and found that we had imaged it, but obviously we hadn't got the discovery. And beyond that, I'm not sure of any off the top of my head. It's not a discovery, but it's believed that some of the first brown dwarfs were imaged from the UK at Bayfordbury. So that's quite interesting.
Any on the internet?
There are just, it's not so much a question, but there are some, I'll put them on the YouTube video, but there are a couple of references to Ordnance Survey maps and links to that, which I'll put on the YouTube. I have a quick question, actually. Who looks after the maintenance and collimation of the telescopes?
I suppose I should have really explained that. As Jerry said at the beginning, I'm a technical tutor at the observatory, and we also have other technical staff there as well. And so over the years, David and myself have been there sort of the last 10 years, David much longer. And before that, like I said, Bob Forrest was the technician there, and we had another couple of people in between. So essentially, it's the technicians who maintain all of the equipment and develop it. And so, like I said about the automation being added, that was part of David's work that he did. So yeah, we are very lucky to be able to work with those telescopes. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for your questions, and thank you indeed, Sam, for that very interesting history of our major local observatory, which I hope those of you who haven't seen it yet will do so before too long. Is well worth the visit, but as I said, you do need to make sure that you book early, because tickets are always sold out in advance. So thank you again, and I'm sure you'd all like to show your appreciation. And now just to hand back over to Alan to finish off the evening.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sam. Thank you very much, Jerry. A few announcements. You don't need to take notes, because we'll tell you where you can find the information. But first of all, the Astrophotography group, HAGAS, have got a meeting on October the 22nd, 2 weeks today. Now, I would like to say give an apology about the last meeting. I understand some people turned up and came here. In fact, the room is upstairs. It's A161. Perhaps somebody from HAGAS could put a notice in the foyer to indicate that. So sorry if you turned up and were slightly disappointed. But it's an open meeting, the next one, so if you want to make a start on astrophotography, this might be the meeting to come along, meet a few of the guys and gals who take the pictures, and will guide you in the right direction. It was amazing, wasn't it, to see so many of our group in that leaderboard of the astrophotography group. Amazing. So well done, you people. We've had the adverts for Bayfordbury, just to let you know that again, November the 7th. Now, you can buy your tickets, or you can come along and do a little bit of PR work for us. If you have a telescope, any sort of telescope, you can come down to the domes and let the general public look through them. A little secret is actually we often show the public more than the university does.
I'm not disputing it.
Well, we actually learned a little trick from you. We turned up on one occasion and we were shown an artificial Uranus made from a slide projected down the drive. Well, what a good idea. So now there is not only an artificial Uranus, but we guarantee that you'll see Mars, Jupiter and Saturn, even if it's cloudy. Beat that.
We thought about making a moon, but the ratio, trying to make it accurate to the size that you would see through the telescope, meant the moon would have to still be pretty big, and it wasn't really feasible.
We just swapped the eyepiece, make it bigger and smaller.
Should have thought of that.
So only if it's raining we can't do that. But that was something, again, we learned from you, and it's very popular when we go to outreach places that we can take something and people will be able to look through a telescope. So thank you for that one. Our observation group, they've had their first meeting this year, and we went up to Bramfield and we got some stunning views of Saturn, and I was able to see the Ring Nebula for the first time, so I was really, really pleased about that. Sean Ryan, yeah, he comes along to our groups and brings his little telescope. He's got a different view about what little is to me.
Sean was one of the observatory directors for many years. So.
I know, well, he's a great friend of ours now, so he's part of our group. So be ready. If there's a clear night turning up, you'll get about 3 days' notice, and you have to be a member, and you have to be on the list. So if you're not on the list, go to our website, look up HAGOBS, click the box, put your name on there, and you'll be informed when there's another meeting. Have you got anything planned up there at the moment, Richard and Lana?
We're watching the weather this coming week.
Okay, right. So get your telescopes polished up and ready. Talking of telescopes, if you're thinking of getting a telescope, don't. The reason being is that we actually have a few telescopes we can let you have on permanent loan sometimes, you know. We've just got to find a new home for them. So if you are interested in looking through a telescope on your own, if you don't want other people around, you know, you want to do it a little bit secretly and so on, you can do that. We don't care. But there's better that they are being used than sitting in the back of my garage or somebody else's outhouse. So if you are interested in using a telescope and never used one before, we've got some. We're not very precious about them. You know, if they were given to us and we know accidents happen, as long as you take reasonable care with it, you know, we're pleased to let them out. There's a couple of interesting webinars from the Federation of Astronomical Societies coming up. One on the 25th of October, Saturday, the search for Planet 9 at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Mike Brown's going to be giving a talk. And there's another one on 15th of November. You'll find a link to those, again, on our website under the Other Events page. So just go on there, Other Events, look for FAS, click on the badge, and you'll get the information. Our next meeting here is on the 12th of November, A Lifetime in Space, and it's going to be a little bit different to usual. The reason being is that the speaker is in America and we're not paying the transport, the transport fees.
Might have to put the membership fee up a little bit for that.
He's, excuse me, we're going to have him on Zoom here, so still come along and you can watch it on the big screen, you'll still be able to interact, and of course all you in the Zoom land, you'll be seeing him just like normal. So that's our next meeting. Gary Hunt is going to be talking about A Lifetime in Space. Now, Gary is the only British selected scientist who worked on the Voyager missions. So he's pretty high up. He's done an awful lot of stuff as a renowned international space scientist, amongst other talents, which I'm sure he's going to share with us. So, again, if you're on our mailing list, you'll get all the information about that for the 12th of November. There are more events in November as well, but they are after our next meeting, so we'll tell you more about them then. Details are on the website. So all that remains to say is there are a few magazines down here you can help yourself to on the way out. Thank you very much indeed for coming along and being a super audience. Thank you to everybody out there in Zoom land. Hope you've had a good time too. And of course, very special thank you to Sam for coming along tonight.
You're welcome.
But I'd also like to say thank you to everybody else who's worked like mad behind the scenes to make it happen tonight. Our admissions, our technicians, ticket sales, all the other things which make the event run nice and smoothly. So thank you very much indeed. Have a safe journey home and look forward to seeing you somewhen.